sharing our stories connects us. Listen and be connected. Join us for the Conversation meeting weekly at the intersection of community and culture. Hosted by Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is that special time of the week. It is Wednesday, Hump Day, and it's the hump hour of Hump Day. I don't know exactly what that means, but I like to say it because it's a lot of humping going on there, apparently. And we are WMNF 88.5, WMNF.org. You're listening to The Conversation. I'm Mario Nunez, and typically I'm seated alongside my broadcast partner, Joe King Carter. And this is when I turn to Joe and I say, Joey, how was your week? Well, let me just say for the sake of full disclosure, Joe is not with us here today. He is at home. He is convalescing. He's listening. I know he is. And he's going to call in later on to share with us, number one, how he's feeling, if he's getting better or if he's holding his own. Joe got himself into a little bit of a mess with a common cold that morphed into something extra. We don't know if it's the RSV thing. It's not COVID because he tested negative for COVID. But Joey's not with me in studio today. So instead of turning to Joe and asking him, Joey, how was your week? I'm going to turn to our engineer producer, Jessica Green, who's looking at me like, why? Why are you doing this, Mario? Well, because this is what we do. We have to start the show like this. Jessica, how was your week?
Oh, it was good. I'm doing well, Mario. Still gainfully employed, walking, breathing. Glad to be here.
Nice. Walking, breathing, and she gets a bell ring for just doing that. That's the minimum, Jess. You understand? That's the very, very minimum. But we're so grateful that you're here because, as we say each and every week, with affection and love, we couldn't do this without you. No, really, we couldn't do this without you because you're the one that actually turns the knobs and makes sure that we get in and out on time and plays all of our promos and the music that we need to play. So thank you for being there, Jess, and thank you for always being at your post. Joey, get well. I'm going to be looking for your call after a little bit. Today in studio with us, ladies and gentlemen, a gentleman that I'm just getting to meet now. I've just been introduced to. In fact, today we met for the first time. His bio is prodigious. He's got a great story to tell. He's a local. So he's right here in our backyard. As he mentioned, his better half lives in downtown Tampa. His girlfriend lives in downtown Tampa. He lives here in West Chase. And I'd like to introduce him to you. We're going to get to his story, Mr. Brendan Rennert. Brendan.
Mario, thank you very much. How you doing today?
Come on, my brother. Thank you for, on such short notice, jumping into the stirrups and riding hard with us, man. Appreciate you being here.
I appreciate the invitation, and I thank Alfred Goldberg for, mentioning me that I could do it.
Alfredo's the best.
He's a good guy.
Alfredo is the best, and hopefully I'll drive him to the archive so he can listen to this show because he's just got a nice shout out from the conversation.
Oh yeah.
And just to remind everybody, if you've missed any of the shows previous, or you like what you hear today and you want to hear more from the conversation, you can go to WMNF.org, search out archives, and then all of the shows, from the music shows, the variety of music shows to our public affairs and news shows, they're all listed there. Just seek out the conversation and listen to any one of the shows that we have there. We've been on the air for almost a year now, Jess, a little bit over a year.
Yeah, has it been that long already?
I don't know. I lose track of time. In these days of woe and want,
Pretty
the
close.
weeks are running at us like a freight train going downhill with it's all gas and no brakes these days.
That's true.
When my head hits the pillow at night, I'm exhausted. When I get up in the morning, I'm hopeful. And then it just happens again. Sometime in the afternoon, you get beat down. Brendan, how do you feel about the current events of things today? Give me your take on some of these things.
My take on the current events is there's a lot going on.
That says
you wake up every morning not exactly sure how the day's going to end up in my book, but there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff going on. There's a lot of bad stuff going on. And I try to stay in the middle of it, and I like to see what's happening. But boy, it's every day I wake up and there's just it's a train wreck of plenty of stuff happening.
Surprise!
Yeah,
Drinking, thank you. Drinking from the proverbial fire hose.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help us that we all have a device in our pockets that connects us to the news cycle, which is now 27 hours out of the 24. So you can't escape it. You know, I'm just old enough to remember, Brendan, you're right on the periphery there. When, you know, the TV stations used to sign off at night.
Yeah.
They used to sign off at 11:30 after the late news.
Yep.
We'd get the jets flying over. We'd see the Native American, like the Indian chief on the that we'd see on the nickel, and then they'd be a test pattern after that.
Yep.
And you know, there was a time also when the stores that were on the corners that were named, I believe they were named 7-Elevens. Does anybody remember that? 7-Elevens? Why were they named 7-Elevens, Brendan?
They were open from 7 to 11.
Thank you. Let me ring a bell for Brendan's correct answer. You know what I mean?
Thank you for the softball. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, but the reality is we can't get away from it now because we're constantly in this cycle, and it's exhausting. I think in some ways it's intentional to kind of see how tough we are as a culture, as a group, and but we will prevail. We're not, darkness will not win here, even though the gray hair in my beard and the hair that's not there on my head anymore is winning.
Right.
But I think that we will prevail. Your story that we're going to get into in just a minute is. And it's more your grandfather's story, I digress. It's really, really inspirational. But let's start as we usually do here on the conversation, getting to meet Brendan Renard. So, Brendan, where were you born?
I grew up in Rochester, New York.
Attaboy.
Yep, grew up there. Spent up until I graduated college, went to Fredonia State University. Go Fredonia.
Go Fredonia. The Fredonia nickname?
The what do they call it? The Blue Devils, yes.
Blue Devils, okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Blue Devils, yeah.
Like Duke?
Yeah, boy, I had to go back far.
No, listen, but I always ask because it's a fun thing to know the mascot of your school.
Yes, it is. It is. It's very much so. So
Rochester, known for?
Wegmans.
And?
Bausch & Lomb.
And?
Xerox.
Kodak.
There
you go. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Rochester back in the day was... a center of a lot of the, just coming out of the Industrial Revolution.
Absolutely.
Rochester was a big city.
Absolutely. My dad had one job in his life. He worked for Xerox for 45 years. Didn't know anything else
Gold
but
watch,
that.
and that's right.
The gold watch, retired, yeah.
Cool. That's a grounding history.
It is, and I consider it I looked at my parents. My mother was an entrepreneur. She had a shoe store for 30 years. My dad had one job his entire life. My mom was riding high, living the fast life. And, my dad passed away. He had quite a bit of money. He just saved up and never made more than...
They worked like hell, too, didn't they?
They did,
Our parents
all the time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He worked... I think it was one time he told me, I didn't make more than $50,000 a year. And, he ended up with over $1 million in his pension when he retired. It was crazy.
Never took a sick day. This was the work ethic of our parents.
Never took a sick day one day at all. Would come home. I remember him at the kitchen table, with his calculator and his pencil.
Xerox.
Yeah, exactly what he was doing.
Beautiful.
And old school, just writing stuff down. I remember, he came home one day. I was really young, and he had literally had the first video game. It was called Wumpus. It was this little board that somebody made with a little chip on it. And you see these little lines going across, and it was crazy. Look where we are now.
So tell me, did you have siblings to share this idyllic upbringing?
I did. I have an older sister. She's going to be 60 this year. She lives in California. She's an editor. She's worked on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette for the last 20 some odd years.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, she's been in the process of doing a documentary about my grandfather's story. That's been ongoing for a number of years. And she's pretty cool. We're all getting together in the next couple weeks in Colorado for a mini family reunion. Yeah, should be a good time.
And Colorado is not only kind of like the midway point a little bit, maybe a little further west from California and Florida, certainly, but it's a fun state.
It's a great state.
Colorado has a lot going for it, besides the clean air and the mountains instead of the beaches. But I like Colorado's politics, as we were alluding to earlier. It's still one of those states where population density is not necessarily a concern, like, in some of the bigger cities and some of the states. You still have wide open spaces.
Sure. Lots of space out there, which you like.
Legal cannabis is always a fun thing to consider. Medical cannabis, because it's not all about getting high. Sometimes it's about settling your nerves. Sometimes it's about dealing with PTSD.
Yep.
There's, cancer patients. There's a lot of good that can come from Well, Mother Earth put cannabis here,
Yep.
right? So
Yeah,
if we're
absolutely.
going to buy into that theory, then yes, Colorado, we see you, Colorado.
Oh, yeah,
And as
absolutely.
we're speaking right now, our son, is on his way, United flight, boom. He's on his way to see a friend of his in Colorado,
Nice.
so to Denver.
He should enjoy.
Yeah, I think he will. Lucky him. Now he's taking his golf clubs with him. He's going to play around the golf. I mean, to be 43 again.
Right.
So you came after Rochester.
Yep.
And after you graduated, you said all the way to college, right?
Yep, all the way through college.
Wow.
Yeah, was
Okay,
there.
so you're 21, 22.
21, 22.
What happens to Brendan at that point? What inspires him to leave the friendly confines?
You'll laugh at this one. I got a call from my best friend, Rob Kantrowitz.
Mm-hmm.
He was living in Florida a year before I moved down there. Calls me up 2 weeks before I graduated. He goes, Brendan, what are you doing? Now, he calls me from my dorm phone room with the still on there that we used to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not anymore.
It's in the hallway, probably.
In the
right?
hallway, yeah. So he calls me up and he goes, what are you doing after graduation? I said, I don't know, Rob. I might go work with my mom for a while. He goes, why don't you come move down to Florida? And I said, why? He goes, well, I'm at Clearwater Beach and the girls are in bikinis. I'm going, all right, sounds like a good enough reason for me. Packed my stuff up after I graduated.
Drove
went
down
there. I did go down there and I've been down here ever since.
Yeah, Rochester, again, lovely city.
Yep.
Lots to do and see, but the winters can be a little bit
Winters have been
foreboding.
terrible,
Yeah, they can be foreboding. And I didn't grow up in the North. I did spend 5 years, 1 year in Chicago. Did you get that?
Yeah.
I spent 5 years, 1 year. And I love the city because the city really and truthfully, they say second city because New York, of course, being in the first position there, I would think. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Chicago has so much to offer.
A lot to offer.
And I was there in the middle 80s, so it was a little different time. The Cubs were riding high and playing well. It was the year I left. The summer that I left was the summer that the Super Bowl Shuffle. We realized we learned about the Super Bowl Shuffle. So that was the only year the Bears won the Super Bowl.
Icky Woods, right?
No, Icky was with Cincinnati at the time.
Oh, he was.
This was Refrigerator Perry.
Oh, Refrigerator Perry.
Yeah,
That's
72
right. Yeah,
Refrigerator Perry.
Yep,
So
yep.
shout out to Refrigerator Perry. But Chicago, I fell in love with the city, although I couldn't stay for a couple of reasons. It was brutally cold, and I couldn't acclimate. I was a baseball. I was raised as a baseball player. My oldest son was already on the scene, so I thought, I'm going to teach him what I know. So I'm going to, but the baseball season's so short up here.
Yeah.
You can't go outside and play until late April. You're in the gym working out, and it's by that time, the kids in Florida have already been playing 3 months.
Right.
So, but I get it. There's something magical about the change of seasons.
Yep.
Right. So that's important to your spirit. Now, what's not important to your spirit is, and it's not certainly backbreaking, is all that shoveling of snow.
It's terrible.
And Rochester is kind of like Erie. It's on that side.
They call it the lake effect. Yeah, the
There
lake
you go.
effect. Yeah.
There you go.
And I did my fair share of it.
Yeah, because your sister couldn't do as much as you. So get out there, Brendan. You got to do your share and your sister's
That's
share.
right.
Your sister's name?
Sharon.
Hey, Sharon. Hopefully, Sharon will be listening to this at some
for
point.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, I have 2 other sisters too, but it's second set of letters from my parents.
That's how, sometimes it happens.
It happens, yeah.
Sometimes it happens. So you get to Clearwater Beach, your eyes are bugging out of your head because
just
it's
like you said.
what is this naked
Just
people
like it.
walking around the beach here? Might as well have been, right? So give us, this is like the 80s?
No, this is
Early
I moved
90s?
down 91.
Okay.
Yeah, 91.
Very early 90s. So during almost the Clinton administration,
Yep.
the tail end of W,
Yep.
George H.W.
Yep.
Bush.
Yep, George H.
And, those were not horrible years. They gave us hope again, right?
Yep.
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow, right? We learned that. That was a theme song from the Clinton campaign twice over. And it wasn't horrible. It was good. We were hopeful once again.
Right.
Gas prices were moderate, and we had another Democrat in the White House. So let's see what we could do with that. What's happening in your professional life at that point?
I started I took a job as a consultant with one of the guys that graduated from my school many years prior to myself. So when I came down to Tampa, I called him up and said, hey, I'm moving down here. I'd love to work with you guys. And he invited me in, and we started doing that in consulting. We went into mergers and acquisitions, took private companies public during that time when it was really, kind of the big thing to do. And then one of the companies we took public was a telecommunications company. So we were working with that, and then the telecom company asked me if I wanted to work with them. So I switched my job from what I was doing with the consulting job, and I started working in the telecommunications field for a telecom startup, and that's where I started my career. I've been through with a couple different companies. I work now for Comcast Business, which Comcast, Universal Studios, NBC Universal.
Oh, it's morphed.
Universal Studios.
It's morphed a couple of times.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of. It's great, amazing company to work for. Absolutely great company. And I've been there for almost 2 years now. And that's what I do. My daily, keeps the money rolling in, and working in the sales, which I truly love doing. As a professional salesman.
Well, you learned a little bit of that probably watching your mom in the shoe store.
I've been in that shoe business for a really long time.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a life passion. My mom closed it up after 35 years, but I've always loved.
No, I can see you as a 12, 14-year-old kid stocking
shoes.
Exactly, stocking shoes.
Right.
And every once in a while, when the cute girl would come in, you go, "Mom, I'll fit her. Don't worry, Mom. Let me fit her."
Well, my mom, had us when she was very young, so a lot of people thought, I was her significant other.
There you
sometimes.
go. There you go. Sure.
They would.
How interesting.
It was. There's an 18-year difference between my mother and my older sister, and there's a 21-year difference between me and my mom. What fun stories come from that? I didn't want to get into that.
Mom and Dad still with us? I know Dad, you said passed.
My dad passed away. My mom's still here. She lives in Fort Myers.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, and her name?
Ruth.
Hi, Ruth.
Yep.
Shout out from the conversation to Ruth, and hopefully she'll get a chance to listen to this as well.
I hope so.
Do you get a chance to see your mom? Are you a good son, Brendan?
I am a great son. You could ask anybody about that.
Good.
I'm a Jewish guy, so of course. Jewish guys are great sons. They make good sons, good husbands, and good sons.
I'll listen. I'll see you, a Jewish guy, and I'll raise you a Puerto Rican Cuban, a Tampeño, because I consider myself to be a pretty good son as well. And I'm the baby, so I'm the third of three boys, and it always falls to the youngest, man, because the other two are just whatever.
That's right.
And somebody's got to pick up the slack. So, but I'm and our parents are grateful. They're the benefactors of that love.
That's right.
Culturally, Jewish, whatever, your religious proclivities, or just your family structure, culturally speaking.
Yep.
It's all about love, man.
It is.
And it's all about that connection.
Yep.
And where would we be, you, me, where would we be without that mother's love at the beginning of this thing?
Right.
Because they put it in us.
They did. They did. Family was so important back then. It still is today now. It still is. Families are one of the most important things.
Best holiday to celebrate in your culture? Best holiday? Come on, give it to me.
It's Hanukkah.
Okay.
Hanukkah and the Passover, and there's so many different holidays, and each one of them is very, very meaningful to, in the religious part of it. But, I grew up in an area that we like to celebrate all the holidays.
Yes.
So whatever it was, as long as I got a day off, we love to celebrate it.
And the Jewish community, follow me take this walk with me, Brendan.
Yeah, sure, I'd love to.
The Jewish community is fortunate in so many ways because you have your traditions that you hold dear, and you get to celebrate them with aplomb and all kinds of fantastic family gatherings.
Yep.
But then you can also celebrate the non-Jewish holidays because everybody else is.
That's right.
So you get double pleasure.
Double.
We don't get that because, unless you're raised in and around the Jewish community, you're not even sure what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Do I wear this now? Do I not wear this now? What am I supposed to say here? What do I do here? What do I eat here? I don't know. And I didn't come really... Listen, I grew up around a fair amount of Jewish boys and girls in grade school, but not really knowing it until I got to kind of 14, 15 years of age, and I started to realize, this is a whole different setup here.
Whole different setup on it, yeah.
And had I been introduced to it early in my path, I might have leaned a little bit that way because, there's something to me that feels comfortable with it, man. It's a very pragmatic approach to life.
Yep.
Eyes wide open. There's no illusions of grandeur here, boys and girls. We're dealing feet on the ground, eyes wide open. Yep. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think you grew up too. I mean, it was really important. Our get-togethers also revolved around a lot of food, right? Jewish cooking and everything.
Yes.
I think like yours, family, food.
Your Jewish grandmother would feed you like my Puerto Rican grandmother would feed me.
Yeah.
And if you left the house without eating, good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. And the interesting thing is that I still to this day, I don't know if your grandmother would do it, but my grandmother would always cook with a cigarette in her mouth.
What else would Bubby do?
Cigarette in one mouth. She'd have the phone in the other with the cord that wraps around.
Yes.
And she'd be cooking her food. And I swear that the reason why the food was so good
Couple of ashes.
Couple of ashes in there.
That's Grandma's touch.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, Abuela was the same way. Abuela had her cigarette. If it wasn't in her mouth, it was in the ashtray next to her.
Yep.
And because everybody smoked back then.
Sure.
They did.
And on the airplane still, right?
Yeah, well, you know, and I
All the
was,
time.
you don't know this about me, Brendan, but I was a flight attendant for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And when I first started my career, I used to come home and I'd have to take off my jacket and, you know, sometimes my pants too and leave it in the garage because I couldn't come in the house with that. You know, the Dallas to Vegas turnarounds were incredible. In the DC-10, you'd have, you know, 200 people in the airplane and half of them smoking.
Smoking away.
Yeah. But I'm lucky I didn't.
Try going to Israel.
Oof. Oof. 16 hours later.
That was bad.
Yeah,
we had to sit in the very, very back.
And the smokers were always in the back, right?
Always in the back. My grandmother packs of cigarettes. It was crazy.
As if the smoke didn't just make it up to the front of the
Somehow
airplane.
it stopped.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Really,
it stopped
really
at seat number 25 somewhere. Supposedly that was.
Yeah, the guy behind you's in the smoking room, but he's not blowing the smoke
No,
your way.
He's not blowing it that way. Of course not.
Ay, Dios. So yes, family is super important, and it still is, and I'm grateful for that connection, right?
Well, yeah.
Now, we always, you know, pictures were a big part of it, and the history, the spoken history, right? The recorded history was great, the books but what you learned at your grandmother's knee was always so important, and your mom hopefully was able to perpetuate those stories too.
Oh, yeah.
Big story that you remember. Now we're going to get to the fun part of today's conversation. The big story that you remember when you were a kid growing up.
The biggest story that I remember growing up is people coming up to me when I was very, very young. And they used to tell me that my grandparents are amazing people. And someday I'll realize how great they actually were, what they've done. And
so you're 10 years old and you're going, sure.
Oh,
yeah, whatever.
It's much younger than that. You know, 5, 6 years old. They would come up to you.
They'd see you on the street.
They would see me everywhere. People would be waiting outside my grandparents' house.
Okay, that's different.
In Brooklyn, New York.
Now that's different.
Waiting for them to come out of the house, not to disturb them before they did that. And growing up a very, very young kid, you don't really know why. Mm-hmm. You know that people say that your grandparents were very, very special people, but you don't have an understanding of why. Right? You just think they're, you know, grandma and grandpa, and that's the way it is. But there was so much more to it. And, you know, the people that we thought that we were always around, I always thought were my aunts and uncles. And, you know, people that always around. My grandmother, one of my another great stories is she's always prepared. Mm-hmm. She was always makeup on, hair done, but she had her little house dress on, you know, little house thing. So at any given moment when the doorbell rang, the house dress would come off. She'd be perfectly dressed, and there'd be food on the table. So there was always people in and out of the house. She always made sure that she had food ready.
She was at the ready.
She was at the ready, yeah.
That's a great way to grow up because you also get a sense of community.
Yeah.
You also get a sense of, it just doesn't happen in my house. I'm kind of connected to all of this on the outside.
Yeah.
And if you get that from an early age, I think that's also what puts a public servant's heart in your body, you know, it gives you that sentiment of giving back and working hard for your community, a community that's helped nurture you and raise you.
Sure.
And all this is happening in Rochester.
Yeah. No, Rochester
and Brooklyn.
Brooklyn,
New York.
Yeah.
And Brooklyn.
New York, yeah.
So could you find a good bagel in Brooklyn? I'm just curious.
Bagels
Am I being
and
facetious?
Pizza. Can you look at me? Look
Yeah,
at me.
yeah, brother. Yeah, brother. Well, you're tall, though, so you can hold it. You're tall. I can't carry the extra weight. How were those days? How were those? Just
it was amazing. They're amazing.
Yeah.
The days there growing up, the summer times there was a lot of fun. We used to go to the beaches. We used to go, great foods, pizzas on Avenue J.
Well, you got museums, you got ballparks. You're in New York. You're in Brooklyn, New York.
We go to the city. Yeah. It'd be great. Yeah, it was a great time.
Would your sister go with?
Oh yeah, the whole family was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And you're on the stoop, and you learned what a stoop was all about because you probably didn't have a stoop back home, but you definitely have them in New York.
No stoop.
Playing stickball in the streets, it's amazing. I mean, my parents met and married in New York, even though my dad was born here. And he tells me about those stories. Now, this is in the 40s. This is in the late 40s.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, wow, it was a whole different time.
It was.
You know?
Yeah.
After World War, they met after World War II. I mean, they closed the streets to celebrate a block party, from the end of the war kind of a thing. And now, even now, driving around in the car, I listen to Sirius Radio, and they want to listen to something. So I found this station that plays nothing but 40s music.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of it's World War II songs.
Yeah.
Give them the gun and all the military songs and everything. And I'm listening to them, having heard them before, so it's jogging that memory.
Yep.
And my mom and dad are singing every word to those songs because That's the one thing about Sirius Radio. You probably know this, but when the song comes up, in the parentheses, it gives you the year.
The year from they come up, yeah.
So that when I always see it, it's like, 43. Well, my dad was 15. My mom was 13. What were they thinking? What were they doing, experiencing in their lives? This was what was playing on the radio.
That's right. Or the record player.
And the radios were like incredible. They were like a big, huge piece of furniture in the house.
Yep.
And you took pictures in front of it because it was a radio.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Listen, let's take just a minute, do a little station identification. When we get back from this, here's a big tease. This is called a tease in the business.
Tease,
I don't know what this means. But listen, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back after we do a couple of little recordings here, station identification, then we're going to tell you a little bit about what's coming up this Saturday. Very important for WMNF listeners like you. We'll get to the story about Brendan's grandfather.
Hi, I'm Keith Arsenault. You're listening to The Conversation with Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter on WMNF 88.5 Tampa.
WMNF, your community radio station, powered by the people, is launching an emergency one-day drive to raise $100,000 to cover the state funding cut. Join us on July 19th, as it's our day to stand together. A community united to protect independent, local, public radio from government funding cuts and media consolidation. Every donation counts. $5, $50, $500. Give what you can. Join the resistance. Power community radio. Donate now at WMNF.org.
Thank you, Sam, for that wonderful reminder. And let me add to Sam's reminder by saying that it is important. We do our best here at WMNF, and I think we do a pretty decent job of keeping the airways open and making the public informed, giving the public an opportunity to contribute. Community radio is all about you and listeners like you. And when funding gets cut out of the budget, it gets real serious real fast. We all know, without getting too far down into that wormhole, that right now democracy is under siege. And we need to be vigilant, and we need to make sure that the public airwaves are and remain public. So this Saturday, we're having this one-day emergency fundraising event, and we're going to call on our listeners to once again to reach into their pockets and make a contribution, big or small, just to let us know that you're connected to what we're doing here and that it means something to you and it's important to you. And we thank you in advance for your love and your consideration. Brendan. Now, as Paul Harvey used to famously say, let's learn the rest of the story. Tell us a little bit about your grandpa. Did you call him? Did he have a special nickname from you? How did you refer to your grandfather?
It was my grandfather.
That's it?
Grandpa.
And grandpa. And he was your mom's father?
Yep, my mom's father. My mom used to call him Abba.
Okay.
He spoke Hebrew. She spoke Hebrew. I wasn't raised on Hebrew, but they spoke a lot of Hebrew. They spoke Russian. They spoke a lot of different languages. My grandmother or grandfather spoke it all Yiddish. They spoke it all in the same sentence. So, it was very...
We kind of do that, too. The Latinos do that, too. With Spanglish, we Spanglish. And brevity is always in play.
Yep.
So whatever language would allow us to get the fewest words to make our point, that's what we would use. And I'm sure it wasn't any different in your culture as well.
Nope, not at all.
Okay, so now we've teased it out. Let's tell your grandfather's story, shall we?
Sure. So my grandfather's name was Tuvia Belsky. If you look him up, he was one of the largest rescuer of Jews by Jews during the Holocaust. He ended up saving 1,250 people. There are tens of thousands of people today that are alive because of what him and his brothers did. They made a movie about the story called Defiance back in 2008. Daniel Craig, who's James Bond, played my grandfather, portrayed him in the story. And it just told this incredible story of how they survived. And it's probably the most incredible story that still to this day people just have not heard of or have not seen. And I am a very big proponent of talking about the story. I teach Holocaust education. I do a lot of things on Holocaust-related studies and all-around education, which to me is one of the most important things that we do. And also, we got a chance and an opportunity to go watch the filming of the movie in Lithuania, and we got to meet all the actors, Daniel Craig, Liev Schreiber, Jamie Elliott. We met the director, screenwriters, the whole bit. And it was a very incredible trip that we have. And after we went to go watch the filming of the movie, we actually went back to Belarus, which was where the story happened, where my grandfather, lived and where they hid in the forest. And we went back in time and followed their footsteps to where they went. And it was just a
That's
really
life-changing.
Yeah.
Brendan, that's life-changing.
Yeah, it was definitely life-changing. But, when I got to Florida, the story is I got to Florida, and I just found out that the Florida Holocaust Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida had just opened up. There was a smaller location. They moved down to Central Avenue. They just opened up. I'm like, I'm going to go down there and check it out. So I ended up going down there. And I started walking through it, and then they came up to a section that's had resistance and rescue in it. I saw the big bigpicture of my grandparents and the Belsky Partisans. And I was like, wow. Like, I didn't know that. And I didn't know that the story was, that...
These are your grandparents. Let's put this in perspective. These are your grandparents.
Yeah, my grandparents. It was pretty cool. Still getting chills.
I would say tears and chills both.
Yeah, it was very cool. So I ended up going to the folks that were there at the time, and I introduced myself and told them the story, and they're like, oh man, we'd love to have you come volunteer and work with them. So for the past 20 plus years, I've been working with the Florida Holocaust Museum on different levels, from development to fundraising, which is the development, to programming, to education. And so teaching education.
Yeah, setting up the curriculum, making sure that,
I would work for some other groups around the country that teach Holocaust education to teachers on how to teach the Holocaust, and using my grandfather's story to kids, to school kids growing up, and teaching them about self-worth and standing up for themselves and standing up for other people, and being a good steward of society and making the right choices, good citizens, right? And it's very interesting to see the things that happened 80 years ago today and how they are affected, and what happens today because of what happened in the past. And I talk about with people that the choices you make today might not make a difference right now, but they, fast forward 50, 60, 70, 100 years, and they make a big difference in life. Simple choices that you make. And whether it be opening up a door for somebody who's having a bad day, or, standing up to a bully on on a schoolyard, it could change people's perspective on life. So I got more involved with it on that side of it. I chose to... it's so hard to even think about the things that they went through to survive. They lived 3.5 years in the forest.
If we've seen, I just wanted to push pause for just a second.
Sure.
I want to come back to 3.5 years in the forest. If you have not seen the movie Defiance, I offer this invitation to you to check it out, and hopefully, after hearing our show today, your curiosity will be piqued to the point that you can't help but seek the movie out, because you might have seen the movie before, but now after hearing Brendan's story and his connection to it, you might want to see it again with a renewed perspective.
Correct.
Because it is harrowing. And just to watch what these incredible, your grandfather and your grandfather's brothers did, and how they survived, it's almost against all odds. Please pick it up.
And it's unimaginable too.
Yeah, no. It's the forest in the winter. Come on, stop it now. Stop it.
It's
How many people did you save?
1,250 people.
Yeah.
It's tens of thousands of people.
Sure.
Today. I still get people to the day, along with my other family members, that I'll be walking the street somewhere. Somebody I'll be at a synagogue. I'll be doing an educational seminar, and somebody comes out to me and goes, introduces themselves and said, we're here because of what your grandfather did. We're alive today.
How does that make you feel? I mean, that is the logical question that everybody's screaming at the radio right now. How does that make you feel?
It's numbing. It's numbing to think that, because of what they had to endure going through it.
Sheer will for life.
Yeah, and my grandfather didn't know that there was any other Jews left in the life, and he didn't have to do what he did, but he knew that's what he needed to do. And his goal, his mission from the whole point of view was saving as many Jews as possible. That's what it was all about for him. It wasn't how many Nazis he could kill. It wasn't, getting redemption on the Nazis or anything. It was just about how many people he could save. And, it started off with just immediate family, and then it just grew. Somebody else brought somebody in from the family there. There were, extended family on the other side. And he put a calling on it. Says, if you want to survive, you want an opportunity to survive, come with
us.
me. Come with us, yeah.
Well, and if you saw Schindler's List, which was another movie important to telling the story, kind of like that.
Yep.
It's one man's effort. In this case, it was three men, but it was a little more raw and completely. I don't even know. Did your grandfather have any of these skills to survive in that environment, or did he gain those skills as he went along day by day?
So it's funny. It's funny you say that. My grandparents, my grandfather and his brothers were, they in town. They were feared. They were not the greatest students. They were ruthless.
Tough guys.
Very, very tough guys. Even when they
the only kind of guy that can survive in that environment. Go ahead.
So and in the movie and in the story, my grandfather and the brothers were not very. They didn't do very well in school, right? So they were. The teachers didn't like them. The people that the Jews that were, the educated ones and everything else, they kind of looked down upon them because they were bad kids.
Ruffians.
Yeah. The interesting dichotomy of it was those are the people that they saved. Those are the people. So it was the educated people that actually didn't know what to do, that they came into the forest and they were adopted by my family, my grandparents, and
who had shunned them previously.
Yes,
it's the classic story that we hear sometimes about the white racist, the white supremacist racist who is suffering from some neurological disorder and needs a surgery, and the neurosurgeon whose hands saves his life happens to be black.
Yep.
It's kind of like that, and he does it because that's what he does,
right?
And that's what your grandfather did.
That's correct.
And in doing so, changed hearts and minds.
Yeah, absolutely, it did. And for forever. I mean, it's their actions changed the course of history,
100%.
Literally. And I'll tell you a quick story, and it's
Please.
not. This one is not to be political, but it is a truth of what happened. And this involves the president of the United States, Donald Trump. Whether you like him or not, he's here today as president of the United States because of something that happened when my grandparents were in the forest. For those of you who don't know, his daughter, Ivanka Trump, is married to Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner's grandparents were in the forest with my grandparents, and they were saved because of what they did. So when Donald Trump became president for the first time, Jared Kushner and a lot of his family members were very involved with what was happening with the presidency. And people said that because of Jared Kushner and his, what he did, he helped Donald Trump become president of the United States. If my grandparents did not save his grandparents,
there's no Jared Kushner.
It could. There is no Jared Kushner. It's just the course of life, how it changes, and that's what I want to go back and say, that things that happened 80 years ago could change the course of life that you would not know.
Still relevant today.
It is still relevant today, and it's they said good, bad, whatever, indifferent on it. It's just the real thing that happened, and the importance of when I teach Holocaust education or anything like that, it just talks about the importance of doing the right thing, because these do affect things that happen down the road.
Martin Luther King's famous quote, there's not a wrong time to do the right thing.
Not at all.
And sometimes those decisions that are made in real time on the fly against incredible odds, you do them because it is the right thing to do.
Yep.
You're not thinking about recompense. You're not thinking about how is this going to help me in 5-10 years from now. First of all, I've got to survive tonight.
Yep.
And then second of all, I'm going to try to save as many people as I possibly can.
Right. And think about 1,250 people, how many people that is. Think about...
exponentially, 80 years later, how many people has that become?
Exactly.
That's an entire city.
Exactly. Fill an entire stadium
That's
full of...
100,000 people could be. Literally it could be.
Yep. It's more of a bloodline. It's more of a bloodline that is here today because of what happened with them. And, the selflessness of my grandfather, the brothers, the people, the partisans that fought, it teaches lessons not only of the Holocaust and survival, but just in today's terms too, like how to make a difference in life for people.
I have been so enthralled in our conversation, and I've been staring at you away from my engineer producer who's over here feverishly working on her homework. And I'm realizing now that the clock is, we've got about 15 minutes left in show. I should, at this point, if anybody would like to make a comment or share a story or just say hi to us, it's 813. The number to call is 813-239-9663. You can send us a text at 813-433-0885. Emails always welcome. And again, Jessica is waiting to receive your emails, and she'll read them to us. DJ@WMNF.org. And I believe Jessica has an email now.
Yeah, David's writing in, and he's curious to find out how Brendan feels about the rise of white nationalism in the USA right now, which is a good question.
It is a good question, and I'm not going to talk politics today because it's not really on the political version of what I want to do. If they want to talk Holocaust education and things on that, I'm very open to do that, but I'm not going to talk on a political standpoint of what's going on today.
Biggest challenge from where you sit as far as an educator and somebody that wants to continue to tell the story to the younger kids so that they have a good grounding and a good sense of that terrible part of humanity's history. What's the biggest challenge for you? What are some of the things that are impediments to your being able to get that job done?
You can talk as much as you want about the stories and what you want to do, but there's always challenges just finding a place to talk about it, right?
Like literally a venue, a place in which you can assemble, or the audience at which
and just in general, the audience in general, or any place. I mean, it's just the interesting, the tough part is once you start down a road of talking about things like you're talking about the Holocaust, other people come in, they're like, well, how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about that? Well, that's not part of the conversation.
Yeah, it's ancillary.
It is ancillary because I'm not, things that happened 80 years ago and what they did is more, to me, is a lot more important than talking about. And again, from a political standpoint, one person's belief is not going to be the same as somebody else's, right? We both know that. And, it's hard enough talking about things like the Holocaust-related stuff because there are people and deniers that still think that it never happened. And that's a problem for me because I know it did. I've seen it. I've seen pictures of it. And the fact is that that it's a precarious position that we've all been put in, and it's not just a Jewish thing. It's a humanity thing.
Yeah, it's a humanity thing.
It is a humanity
100% it is.
And the Holocaust, things are still going on today that happened. That are people still their view of the Holocaust and and it shouldn't be happening, right? And it's not just in the U.S. It's happens all over the world.
So many things I want to ask you in the 12 minutes or so that we have remaining. One thing that I saw, and I don't know if it was on 60 Minutes that I saw it, maybe the Sunday morning show or maybe both, but there is a museum, I think it's in New York, but maybe it could be here in Florida, could be in South Florida, where they've taken survivors and they've interviewed them, many of whom have passed on since.
Sure.
With incredible technology and cameras all about them in 360, and then they transpose all of that information digitally, create a hologram, ask them as many questions as they possibly could to get definitive answers from all of those questions, and then now you standing in front of a survivor can ask them a question. Organically. What was it like? And that person then will answer that question. Where is that fabulous music? But you know what I'm talking about,
yes?
I
know exactly what you're talking about. I don't think it's in South Florida, but listen, with the technology that's in play now, AI, we are to a point where technology is finally caught up to where we can do things that I want to be able to do. My grandfather has a memoirs that he wrote down during the Holocaust. We're just getting it published, right? After 80 years.
In his hand. So you have that, the family has it.
Yes, in his hand. So, and it's like, with technology these days, you can make an AI twin of yourself. You could replicate things that have happened in the past. And not even not even doing things with filming them while they were still alive, but now you can create
them.
an AI twin of somebody and have them talk and speak and act. In
Deep fakes.
Deep fakes. It could be bad and it could be good.
Correct.
One of the things that, I want to see happen is be able to go back and recount those things that have happened in the past with the people that did it. And there are not many people alive today.
That's what I'm saying. We're losing them each and every day. Sure.
Second and third generation people like myself that have to continue, the discussions and the conversations down the road. And the hard part is, if you don't talk about it, people don't remember it. Our school systems, the education systems are not what they used to be. They're just checking the boxes now saying, we've mentioned the Holocaust, we mentioned World War II, we mentioned, the Nazis or whatever, and they're going to check that box of Holocaust education. And that's not enough. It's not enough. Our history, whether it be Civil War history for my friend Keith. That
Native American history.
Yeah, Native American
Trail
history.
of Tears.
Yes, it's super important to relive the past and how it created the future and where we are today because of it.
And connect it to our hearts.
Correct.
Right? Not just to our brains, because our brains, that's the factual side. That's the regurgitation of the dates and the places.
Yeah.
But the sentiment involved and what that means, it's, to deny something like the Holocaust is as ludicrous as denying that bombs were ever dropped on Pearl Harbor. I mean, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
We have accounts, many accounts. It defies logic, really and truthfully, when you get into that. But
we are very fortunate to live in a place that we live. The freedoms that we have, the freedoms to, think what we want, say what we say. Those are freedoms that we take advantage of sometimes. And having that freedom where we are is just incredible. I mean, it's an incredible place to live.
I think that's why everybody still wants to come here, because it's the last bastion of hope.
Yeah.
It is where people think that their dreams could still come true, even from whence they come, right?
Yep.
And yes, a lot of times they're fleeing danger and evil and persecution, and they're just trying to get to a safe place, the proverbial safe harbor.
Yep.
And if we're not welcoming to that experience, what does that say about us as human beings, as humanity?
Exactly.
So that's why your grandfather had to go into the woods, man, with his brothers.
That's right.
And thank goodness he was a ruffian, man.
Yeah.
Thank goodness he was probably a guy that cursed a lot.
And I'm sure he
Oh,
did.
yeah. And probably would knock you on your bottom
he
if
definitely
you
would
needed
knock.
to.
Yes, he definitely would knock. And
Right?
the brothers and the cousins. I got a great family, and it's you can see the lineage on how it's been progressed down, because my grandparents were a force to be reckoned with. Their brothers were a force to be reckoned with, and my cousins and my family. I mean, they
You kind of adopt that personality a little bit.
They absolutely do.
Fighters.
Yeah.
Fighters, survivors. So just on a superficial kind of a sense, isn't it cool that, your grandfather's story was made into a movie? My grandfather's story wasn't made into a movie.
Yeah, it was very cool. My daughter, my kid, grew up thinking that Daniel Craig was her grandfather.
Let's bring one for Daniel Craig, all right?
It was pretty cool. We had, talking to
very
them.
versatile actor, very versatile actor.
Yeah, he made a great grandfather.
Did you get to meet him?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh man,
oh yeah. I brought a picture along so you can see it.
Oh, I'd love to see that when we get done here.
Yeah, we got to meet him when we were in Lithuania, and it was very interesting meeting them for the first time.
Let me suggest to you that he got a chance to meet you.
That's exactly what happened.
There you go.
Daniel Craig's a pretty
quiet guy to himself.
But he's a big
superstar.
Superstar.
Yeah,
so we met him, and I was kind of dumbfounded and speechless when I met him.
007.
When he met us, he was the same way. He's like, I cannot believe I'm standing in the presence of the family of the man I'm playing, and he was just like, he was in awe. He was like, he was thanking us for letting him play that part.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was getting to.
Yeah, it was so unexpected and so it was just great. And then we ended up doing shots of vodka with him, and he's cheering to the it was
okay. Now you're just showing off, Brendan. Now you're just showing.
I have to show off a little bit.
I don't blame you, because I would have been doing it. From the minute I opened the mic to you, I would have been showing that off.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about Violins of Hope? We just have a few minutes left.
I would love to.
And let me also say this. let this not be the last time you're on the show with us.
I'd be happy to spend any time.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Violins of Hope.
Yes, Violins of Hope, project that started 30 years ago. The descendants of one of the brothers, Asael, who perished after the war in Russia, was killed. His daughter and my cousins, my cousin married somebody who was a luthier, Amnon Weinstein. Luthier is a person that
repairs
violins, right? So the story was 30 some odd years ago, somebody brought him a violin and said this was in the Holocaust. During the Holocaust, it was played at one of the concentration camps. It was, and they didn't want to throw it away. They didn't want to burn it. They didn't know what to do with it. So he gave it to my grandfather, my cousin, who sat with it for a number of years. After a while, he decided that instead of letting them sit, that he'd restore them. And his idea was to start creating music with them. Actually, for the people that played them, and during these times, it brought the voices back through the music for the voiceless. So fast forward 30 years, Amnon passed away a couple years ago, and his son Avshi now does that. And these Violins of Hope, there's 70 plus violins now that have been restored. Some of them playable, some of them not. The ones that are decorated with the Jewish symbols and the stars are the ones that were not as well. They're not playable, but they're decorative. So the ones that are playable now travel all across the world, and they play these incredible concerts with incredible musicians. And we had one a couple months ago, back in March, with the Florida Holocaust Museum and the Florida Orchestra. We had about 550 people show up to it. We're bringing them back in 2028. We're going to do it at the Straz Center. We're going to have a full-blown orchestra in there. We're actually going to Denver, Colorado in a couple weeks, where they're having one of the violins.
Shout out to Denver again.
Shout out to Denver. And my cousins are all going to be there. My aunt who lives in Israel, she was able to get out. Fortunately, so she's coming over, and we're going to have a mini family reunion. We're going to go see the violins, and that's one of the other passions that I have, is helping them bring them back here. And it's being able to listen to the violins and seeing the musicians play them brings it just to
the joy.
It's the joy. It's just incredible. It's an incredible feeling just to see that. But he lovingly restores them. My cousin, he has a shop in Israel, and he has a shop in Turkey, which is where he resides, and he travels literally all over the world to play them. And it's just a wonderful, anybody who's been to one, they're fabulous. The orchestras love them, and been talking to the Florida Orchestra, and they can't wait.
Please let us know when that event is taking place, because we would like to go. We would like to be there to record that and just to experience it firsthand.
Yeah, and we're also looking to do a violins concert on Holocaust Remembrance Day in January 2027. I'm personally trying to get it done at the White House, because it's Holocaust Remembrance Day.
It would be appropriate.
It would be appropriate to do it there, and because of the ties that we've had with them, that's where we're kind of in the planning stages of trying to get that done. But they travel all over the world. I actually had to go pick them up and bring them back.
So you're
with
a
me.
courier on top of everything else.
And I'll tell you what, I've never been so nervous before in my life when I had the violins.
I would think so.
I'm bringing them in, and they're inspecting them. I'm like, don't touch that. Don't touch that. And they were like, why? I'm like, because that's from, the Holocaust. And you're like, what's that? And I'm like, let me tell you the story. So it was very, having to carry those on an airplane and knowing, literally,
the weight.
Not the weight.
No, the weight.
The weight.
Yeah, yes,
the weight.
Exactly.
The weight from the heart.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So,
well, let me just say for the record that it's incredible meeting you today.
Thank you.
Up until, again, our good friend, Alfred Goldberg, put you in our path. We would not probably have crossed paths, but I'm grateful for that experience, man. And, we're going to have you back on again if it's maybe closer to that event in January.
Would love to.
So we can help promote that a little bit. But I think that at the end of the day, it's pretty cool to be Brendan Rennert. I think it's a pretty full life.
Thank you.
I think the history is all there, but I also think that the work that you're doing going forward in your community is amazing.
Thank you.
So thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
And
Thanks
thank
for
you
the
being here
invitation to be
today.
here. No,
of course.
pleasure.
Jessica, any last words on your behalf? You can open your mic and say something nice.
It was a very interesting show today. Thanks for joining us.
You'll
There you
appreciate
go.
it.
Yeah,
Jesse?
especially on such short notice. So
No problem. Well,
Well, he's right here. He's local.
local.
That's right.
You can call me in the morning. I'll be here in the afternoon.
We'll have to go out and get a café con leche sometime
Would
and
love to.
continue this conversation.
Would love to. Anytime.
Because that's what we do here at WMNF. We make connections. It's all about community. And today you heard the fascinating and full story of Mr. Brendan Rennert, who has a great story to tell. Let me say that on behalf of everybody that puts this show together, we wouldn't do it without Jessica Green, our producer engineer. And today Cheryl was quietly at her post listening for phone calls. We didn't get any, but that's okay. We know you were out there listening just like we were here in the studio. We ask that you please stay tuned. Sam Hval is coming up next. It's the music, and she puts on a great show Wednesdays at 1 o'clock when we get out of the studio. So don't forget this Saturday. It's real important. If you have an opportunity to listen in, make a donation. No contribution is too small, but full disclosure, we like the big contributions as well. Thank you, everybody, for being with us today. We love you. Thanks for listening. You're listening to WMNF Tampa.